They passed away, but left one last message for you. Archangel Michael says, if you open this now, you'll finally understand why it happened, my beloved child. Listen deeply, for it is in this moment that may appear quiet and still. You were never meant to carry this pain alone. That moment, the day they left this earth, it changed something inside you. Not just your mind. Not just your routine. But your entire soul. Something felt incomplete, unanswered, unfair. You kept searching in silence, trying to understand why. Why them? Why now? Why like that? And the world moved on while your heart quietly froze in the same place, trying to make sense of the impossible. But now, heaven is saying, there's a message. There's a reason. And today, you're finally ready to receive it. They passed away, but their love didn't. Their body is gone, but their energy never left. Their voice may be silent, but their soul has been whispering your name in the wind, in the dreams, in the places you've gone just to feel close to them again. And today, Archangel Michael is gently unfolding that final note, the one they've been trying to place into your heart since the moment they crossed over. Because this was never a goodbye. This was a realignment. A sacred exchange. A spiritual doorway that had to open, even if it shattered you. They want you to know, I didn't leave you. I was called higher so I could protect you deeper. And though it felt like a loss, heaven was rearranging your path so you would become the version of yourself they always saw, the one they always believed in. That's why they're still around. That's why you still feel them in the quietest hours. That's why random songs, scents, photos, dreams keep showing up like divine breadcrumbs. Because they didn't vanish. They transformed. And you, dear soul, were always meant to receive the reason. Now that your heart has softened. Now that your eyes have started to see beyond the physical. Now that your pain has cracked open something sacred inside of you. Archangel Michael stands beside you right now. He holds a letter that was never written on paper. It was written in the pauses. In the things left unsaid. In the prayers they whispered for you before they went. And that letter is glowing with the light of truth, the kind that doesn't hurt, but heals. And he speaks, the pain you felt wasn't punishment. It was permission, for your soul to awaken, for your journey to change, for the people around you to be revealed. I protected them during their crossing. I guarded their soul. But now I've been sent to guard yours. To deliver what they couldn't say in time. To hand you the closure your heart was too sacred to search for in this world. So read this moment not with your eyes, but with your heart. They left because they had finished their divine assignment, but you hadn't. And it was their absence that activated your deeper purpose. It was their passing that made room for your rising. They would have never wanted to leave, but now they walk ahead of you in spirit, clearing paths you cannot yet see. They say softly through Michael, "Don't cry for me anymore, not like that. Cry if you need to, but know that my soul is not far. I have seen what's coming. I know what's being prepared. I know how this pain will become the foundation of your light." And in that whisper, you realize, this was never just loss. This was sacred design. And today, you were chosen to finally understand why. They never meant to leave you like that. If there had been a way to stay, to hold your hand one more time, to sit beside you and say all the things their soul still carries, they would have done it. They would have crossed oceans just to give you that one final goodbye. But heaven moves differently. Sometimes faster than we can prepare for. Sometimes quieter than we can understand. But even in that sudden silence, their heart had one last echo. And that echo, that whisper, was wrapped in divine light and handed to Archangel Michael to deliver to you now. Their message is not filled with regret. It's filled with reverence. For your strength. For your tears. For the way you kept breathing even when it felt like you were breaking. They saw it all. Every silent prayer. Every time you sat by the window, hoping for a sign. Every time you closed your eyes and whispered, "Where did you go?" They were never far. And now, they ask you to listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because something greater needed to unfold in your life. I left because I saw the future from a place you could not. And I saw that my absence would awaken something sacred inside of you, something I could never fully awaken just by staying. You don't know this yet, but my departure became your beginning. And Archangel Michael stands close now, his wings shielding you from heaviness, his presence calming your breath. He speaks for them, not as a messenger of loss, but as a guardian of revelation. He says, "You were never left behind. You were left with light. And that light is not to be wasted in grief, but to be lived with intention." The person you lost didn't want you to freeze your story. They wanted you to step into it, boldly, with all the love they couldn't carry into the next realm. There's a reason you still feel their warmth in unexpected places. Why you sometimes wake up with their name in your chest. Why tears fall on days you can't explain. Because their spirit keeps returning, not to haunt you, but to hold you. Not to reopen wounds, but to remind you, I am not gone. I am just not visible in the way you once knew me. They want you to live now. Not just survive. They want you to trust that every sunset they missed here, they now witness from the heavens, standing right beside you. They want you to stop asking what could have been, and start receiving what's still meant to be. They want you to speak their name, not in sadness, but in sacredness. Not as a shadow, but as a flame. They want you to know, the reason I passed was never to destroy you. It was to awaken the parts of you I always believed in, the parts one sees shining now even more clearly from where I am. And in this moment, as the energy of their final message touches your soul, something begins to shift. You realize you are not just missing them. You are becoming everything they loved about you. You are growing into the vision they always held for you. And in doing that, you honor them more than 1,000 tears ever could. So breathe, beloved. They are here. In this word. In this pause. In this peace. And Archangel Michael places one hand on your shoulder and whispers, "This isn't the end. This is the revelation. This is the moment heaven knew your heart could finally carry the truth. The why. The love. The blessing. The legacy. You were always meant to understand it. And today, you did. And they are proud. They always knew you had more inside you than the world could see. Even when you couldn't see it yourself, even when you questioned your worth, even when you doubted every decision you ever made, they looked at you with quiet knowing, like they saw something eternal in you. And now, after their departure, that quiet knowing has turned into a spiritual echo, whispering inside the softest corners of your heart. It's no longer just about their absence, it's about the way they're now woven into everything you do. Every moment you hesitate, their unseen hand steadies you. Every time you speak from a place of depth, it's because their soul is speaking through you. And Archangel Michael says, this is what they wanted you to understand. That love doesn't end. It transforms. And you have become its vessel. They didn't leave you broken. You only felt broken because you were holding on to the physical version of them. But their soul, their real essence, was never something this world could contain forever. And now that they are free, they move through light, through wind, through moments. And you carry them not in your pain, but in your pulse. Every heartbeat of yours is a message they continue writing from heaven. Not with ink, but with energy. Not with noise, but with presence. There are things you didn't get to say. Words you still rehearse in your mind hoping they somehow reach them. But the truth is, they already heard them. In every tear you shed. In every silent prayer. In every memory that made you stop and close your eyes. You think they don't know how much you miss them? They do. But more than your tears, they feel your strength. They see how, even in grief, you still choose to love, still choose to give, still choose to believe. And that is their message to you. You don't need to live with guilt. I knew your heart, even when your words were quiet. I knew your soul, even when your pain was loud. And I never once doubted your love. And Archangel Michael, standing like a guardian beside your spirit, confirms this sacred truth: they don't need you to prove anything. They just want you to live in the freedom of love that outlives the body. Because this isn't about forgetting them. It's about releasing the pain that makes you forget yourself. It's about remembering that their journey didn't end, it just changed frequency. And when you tune your heart to that divine frequency, you'll feel them in the places you never thought to look. In sunlight. In music. In laughter. In moments of unexpected calm. Not as ghosts, not as shadows, but as guides made of light. They always believed in the best parts of you, not just your potential, but your truth. The version of you that you were afraid to be. The version that cried in silence, prayed in secret, kept going even when no one noticed. And now that you are still here, still breathing, still becoming, they want you to know, every step you take from love, you take for both of us now. So don't let the world rush you. Don't let anyone tell you how to grieve or how long it should last. Because this isn't grief anymore, this is sacred transformation. You're not stuck in the pain. You're rooted in a love that eternity itself couldn't separate. And every time you smile through the tears, every time you choose compassion over bitterness, every time you sit in silence and feel that sudden calm, that's them. Touching your spirit. Letting you know, I'm still here. I'm still proud. And I will never stop loving you. It took time for the silence to soften. At first, every quiet moment screamed with their absence. The house echoed differently. The nights grew longer. Even the smallest things, like a favorite song, a scent, a color, became unbearable reminders. Not because they hurt, but because they held so much love without a place to land. You weren't just grieving their absence. You were grieving the version of yourself that only existed when they were around. And yet slowly, without announcement or permission, something changed. The silence stopped screaming. And it began to speak. In that silence, you began to hear what you never could before. Their soul, gentle, light, unbound, started whispering the words they never got to say. Not with voice, but with presence. Not with sound, but with stillness. And what they said wasn't an apology, or an explanation, or a promise to return. It was simply this: you don't have to wait anymore. I've already become a part of you. And Archangel Michael, standing as witness to this holy merging, says, you were never meant to carry grief like a burden. You were meant to carry it like a lantern. It lights your path not with sorrow, but with sacred memory. And the one you loved, they are now that light. They want you to live now. Not in shadow. Not in fear. Not half alive waiting for a sign. Because you, beloved, are the sign. Every act of kindness you offer. Every moment you love without condition. Every dream you still dare to chase, those are echoes of their soul, alive through you. They don't want your life to be shaped by what you lost. They want it to be shaped by what you found, the strength to keep becoming. Because you have become so much more than the person they said goodbye to. You've cried your way into a higher knowing. You've grown into a soul that understands eternity isn't far away, it's right here, in the love that keeps flowing. And in that realization, the pain doesn't disappear, it transforms. Not into joy. Not into forgetfulness. But into a deeper love, one that no longer asks, "Why did this happen?" but instead says, "Thank you for loving me that deeply while you were here." They know now that you don't need to be protected from grief anymore. Because you've learned how to turn it into grace. They don't need to send you signs anymore. Because now you recognize them in the mirror of your own compassion. And Michael says softly, "This is why I brought you here. Not to reopen the wound, but to remind you of the beauty that grew from it." They left, but they left love behind, and that love is eternal. So, let today be a quiet turning point. Not a moment of forgetting, but a moment of becoming. Become the kind of person they believed you were. Live the kind of life they always dreamed for you. Because every step you take now, in light, in truth, in love, they walk it too. Just not beside you. Within you. And when you smile for no reason, when peace finds you in the middle of an ordinary day, when you feel your own heartbeat and realize it carries more than your own rhythm, you'll know. They didn't leave me. They led me home, to myself. You may not have realized it yet, but the day they passed, something was passed on to you too. Not in paper. Not in legal words. But in energy. In spirit. In light. A sacred assignment was placed into your hands the moment they took their last breath, and while you were grieving their absence, heaven was placing their essence within you. Because everything they could no longer finish, now belongs to you. Not as pressure, but as purpose. And Archangel Michael is standing before you now, not to command, not to demand, but to whisper the truth gently. You are the continuation of their love story. They may have left quietly, but what they planted in your soul is loud. It grows every time you love someone like they did. It multiplies every time you choose peace over chaos. It comes alive every time you forgive where others would have stayed bitter. And whether you see it or not, you are becoming the living prayer they once whispered when no one was watching. They never expected perfection from you. They never wanted you to carry their pain. All they ever wanted was for you to rise, in your own way, at your own time, and become the light they always saw inside you. And now, you are. Maybe not fully. Maybe you're still healing, still breaking in some places. But that doesn't matter. Because what matters is, you didn't give up. You didn't let your grief close your heart. You didn't let the world make you cold. And that is the miracle they prayed for. And now Michael speaks again, his voice like thunder wrapped in silk. You are not just healing. You are anchoring heaven. You are carrying the unspoken love of someone who chose to watch you from the realm of angels. You are the bridge now, between what was and what can be. So don't be surprised when you feel strength you can't explain. Don't be confused when strangers feel drawn to your presence. Don't doubt the visions, the ideas, the wild dreams that show up in the stillness. Because it's them. Still guiding. Still giving. Still placing divine opportunities in your path. They didn't pass away to punish you. They passed through so that you would remember, you are made of more than memories. You are made of miracles. Their story didn't end. It just switched vessels. And now, through you, it gets to continue, more free, more powerful, more eternal than ever before. Let go of the question, why did they leave? And start living the answer, so I could rise. You are not the one left behind. You are the one chosen to carry forward. There's something sacred about surviving. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You survived a moment you thought would break you forever. You made it through days where your breath felt heavy and your heart felt hollow. You stood in rooms filled with people and still felt alone because the only voice you wanted to hear was no longer speaking. But today, Archangel Michael is whispering, that silence was not absence. It was transformation. Because now, your soul doesn't just remember them. It moves with them. You laugh differently now, not just from joy, but from depth. You speak differently, not just from knowledge, but from experience. You love differently, not just for others, but from a place that understands loss and still chooses light. This is your awakening. Not the dramatic kind. Not the kind where fireworks go off or the world shifts overnight. But the kind where you wake up one morning, touch your heart, and realize, you are no longer waiting to be healed, you have become healing itself. Their message wasn't meant to stop you in grief. It was meant to graduate you into grace. And now, you no longer ask why they left. You carry why they lived. You speak their name like a seed planted in your future, not a ghost trapped in your past. Archangel Michael places his light on your shoulders now, not as burden, but as armor. He says, you are not here to stay stuck in what hurt you. You are here to rise from it. You are here to carry light into the world. The person you lost? They knew this about you. That's why they kept choosing to love you even when you couldn't see your own strength. And now, they smile, not from a faraway place, but from the space between your heartbeat and your breath. They no longer wait for you to call them. Because they live where you are now most alive, in your growth. in your courage, in your stillness. And every time you share your story, every time your voice shakes but you speak anyway, every time you comfort someone else from a place of knowing, you become what they hoped for. You become the divine continuation of a love that could not be ended by death. You become the message, the letter, the miracle. So today, walk boldly. Not as someone who lost, but as someone who carries legacy in their bones. You are not a chapter after their ending. You are the book still being written. And they are writing it with you, from above. There comes a moment, quietly and without announcement, when you realize you're no longer crying for them, you're crying with them. As if their soul is sitting next to yours, holding your hand not to console, but to remind you, you are still here, and I am still with you. You begin to understand that grief wasn't a storm meant to drown you, it was the baptism that brought you back to your truth. That love is not held in bodies. It's not limited by time. It's not trapped in tombstones or old photos or final goodbyes. Love is eternal. And the love you shared with them was never buried, it was planted. And now, it's blooming through you. You speak differently now, more softly, more soulfully. You see people differently, not by what they do, but what they carry. You love differently, not to possess, but to protect. And all of this is them. Still shaping you. Still living through you. Still walking beside you even when no one else can feel it. Michael's voice rises in your spirit now, no longer outside you, but inside you. He says, "You have done it. You've understood the purpose. You've heard the unspoken. You've healed through the unbearable. You've made their love immortal. This isn't where the story ends. This is where you become the messenger. You've walked through loss and found light. You've faced sorrow and discovered strength. You've been broken, but rebuilt from something heaven poured into your soul, and now, you shine.